in my face.
They say the Wild West was forged in dust and gunpowder, where men wore the boots and lawlessness was the law. We aren't on this journey to take the easy way out. Instead, we're going where no one has gone before, into the forgotten histories of the Wild West, where dresses and guns collide and the voices of long-lost women still ring out. We are uncovering the past to shed light on the exceptional women who lived on the harsh frontier and shaped the modern West. Step back in time with me as we travel over vast prairies and craggy mountains to explore the intriguing history of women in the Old West. The misconception of women in the Wild West. Women in the Wild West were anything but meek or one-dimensional. The range of roles they played was vast and varied. Did you know? Women were pioneers, homesteaders, and even law enforcement officers. They worked in mines, ran businesses, and raised families, often single-handedly. Sunsets on the horizon, painting the skies in hues of purple and orange. And a lone cowboy silhouetted against the setting sun, right? When we speak of the Wild West, we think of this scenario. Contrary to the cowboy-dominated narratives, women played an enormous role in shaping the American West. They stood as pillars of society, navigating an unforgiving landscape, all while redefining their roles in a largely patriarchal society. Here's a striking fact. In Wyoming, a wild western territory, women gained the right to vote as early as 1869, a good half a century before the 19th Amendment was ratified in the rest of the United States. Let's shatter the one-sided image of the Wild West. It's time to explore the depth, diversity, and sheer grit of the women who helped tame the wilderness, whose silent sacrifices laid the groundwork for a thriving civilization. They were true trailblazers, their stories deserving of our attention and respect. So saddle up, folks. We're riding into the heart of the wild, Wild West, unveiling the unseen and breaking the stereotypes as we go. The backbone of civilization, homesteaders and entrepreneurs. As the canvas of the Wild West was laid bare, a set of extraordinary women emerged. They were the homesteaders and entrepreneurs building homes and businesses in the sprawling openness of the frontier. Women in the Wild West weren't just making homes, but birthing civilizations. Imagine the courage it took to stake a claim on a piece of the wild land, a Homestead Act of 1862 serving as their ticket. This act opened up millions of acres, granting individuals, including single women, the opportunity to claim 160 acres of public land. Records show that thousands of women, often widows, utilized this provision, adding a fascinating twist to the tale of the westward expansion. While homesteading was no easy task, many women also put their entrepreneurial skills to work. They ran boarding houses where weary travelers could rest their heads. Others operated laundries and restaurants, which were essential for the growing communities. Yet more became dressmakers, milliners, or storekeepers, bringing the essentials of civilization to the dusty streets of frontier towns. An intriguing story is that of Fanny Brooks, a Vermont native who ventured westward during the gold rush. She operated a millinery and dressmaking business in Denver, becoming one of the city's first female entrepreneurs. Beyond the bonnet, the pioneers of progress. In the Wild West, change was the only constant. It was a landscape of relentless movement, untamed wilderness, and unyielding challenge. Amidst this change, women didn't just cope, they thrived. Pushing the boundaries of their traditional roles, they became pioneers of progress, reshaping the tapestry of the American frontier. Imagine this, women trekking along the Oregon Trail, braving the elements, steering covered wagons, and even giving birth en route. It wasn't just a man's task. Historical accounts tell us that many women took the reins, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes by choice. About 40% of the pioneers who traveled the Oregon Trail were women. Amidst the arid plains and treacherous mountains, they didn't just survive, they played an active role in paving the way for future generations. Dr. Bethania Owens Adair, for example, was one such trailblazer. Then we have figures like Clara Brown, who, after gaining freedom from slavery, moved west during the Colorado Gold Rush. She established a laundry business and invested in real estate, becoming a prominent philanthropist and community leader, helping other formerly enslaved people settle in the West. As pioneers of progress, women of the Wild West defied norms, shouldered responsibility, and displayed an unwavering spirit of resilience. They were more than just silent companions on the journey westward. They were participants, contributors, and architects of the society that unfolded in the frontier. They looked beyond their bonnets towards a future where their impact would be indelibly etched into the annals of history. Not just a man's gain, women in law and order. Whoever said the Wild West was a man's world didn't know about the remarkable women who wore the badge. That's right. Women in the Wild West weren't just homemakers or business owners, but also the keepers of law and order. It's time for their tales, which have likely been forgotten, to emerge from the shadows of history. Now we picture Wild West sheriffs and outlaws in noontime gunfights. Did you realize that these areas' strongest law enforcers were women? We must disprove that stereotype. Phoebe Couzens is noteworthy. In 1887, Couzens became a U.S. Marshal. Her nomination wasn't symbolic, she was an active, respected law enforcement officer who broke gender barriers. Another remarkable woman is Ada Carnett. Ada was a U.S. Deputy Marshal in Oklahoma Territory, known for her no-nonsense approach and ability to track down some of the most notorious criminals of her time. In 1893, she famously arrested 2 horse thieves, riding with her prisoners for 3 days and nights alone to reach the federal jail in Guthrie, Oklahoma. So think again about the Wild West. These brave women proved they could wear a badge, ride a horse, and wield a gun as effectively as any man, carving their names into the legacy of the Wild West. Silhouettes of resilience. Women in mining and agriculture. So, what's the image that springs to mind when we talk about mining and agriculture in the Wild West? Tough, grizzled men panning for gold or tending to cattle. Well, let's reframe that picture. Let's add the silhouettes of resilient women who weren't just bystanders but active participants in these critical industries. When gold was discovered in California in 1848, it wasn't just men who rushed to stake their claims. Women, too, joined the frenzy, seeking fortunes in the sparkling streams and rugged mines. It wasn't just about panning for gold. Women also operated boarding houses and supply stores, capitalizing on the booming population of miners. Take the story of Eleanor Dumont, aka Madame Moustache, an intriguing figure of the California gold rush. This French immigrant made a fortune in the mining towns and was a famous card dealer. She earned her nickname from the line of dark hair on her upper lip, but her savvy business acumen made her a legend. And it wasn't just mining. Women were instrumental in the agricultural development of the West. They helped plant and harvest crops, raise livestock, and manage ranches. It was a tough life, marked by physical hardship and long, grueling hours. The story of Elizabeth Collins, a widow who moved west to Nebraska with her 5 children. Collins managed her 160-acre homestead, raising livestock and cultivating crops. Despite the hardships, she persevered and prospered. These women of the Wild West weren't just survivors, they were masters of adaptation. They saw opportunities where others saw obstacles. They were the true silhouettes of resilience, defying gender norms and etching their indelible marks on the industries that formed the economic backbone of the frontier society. The unheard voices, minority women in the Wild West. The story of the Wild West is not merely a single narrative. It's a tapestry of myriad threads, each contributing to history's rich and vibrant fabric. Some of these threads have often been overlooked, the stories of minority women. Their experiences were distinct yet intertwined, painting a fuller picture of the Wild West. For Native American women, the westward expansion brought drastic changes. They were stewards of the land, deeply connected to nature and their communities. Like Sacagawea, a Shoshone woman, women played crucial roles in this era. Serving as an interpreter and guide for the Lewis and Clark expedition, Sacagawea is an iconic example of the influence Native American women held. As the dust settles and the echoes of the Wild West start to fade, one thing becomes clear. The women we discovered on this journey were not merely background characters. They were the heart and soul of the frontier, the unsung heroes of their time. Their resilience, courage, and ingenuity painted the canvas of the West in vibrant hues, making it much more than a backdrop for the cowboy's story.